Hello everyone. So there was a question on the community today, and I don't really want to show the question because it can be. It is not really always nice to show the question if I am going to talk about something about the question, then the person might get offended. Uh, but of course, my intention is to help and talk about best practices in Jira. Now, the question was that let us say we have to create automatically on a recurring basis some task every month. And the requirement was that every month there should be a new epic created. Let us say in the month of September, there will be a new epic called September. There will be a new epic called as October. I mean, that is actually the name. Like, literally, the name of the epic would be September epic or October epic or November epic, and so on. And I mean, it may not. It is not really about the name of the epic. I mean, name can be anything. But if you are trying to do something on a regular basis, on a recurring basis, yes, you can obviously do that with Jira using automation. You can always do something based on a specific criteria, and you can do things by configuring a scheduler. I believe I think I've shown you how to do that, and a lot of things are possible around automation. Now the thing is that I think from my experience, if you try to do something automatically, like on a recurring basis, like if you are trying to create the issues automatically, you can do that. And I'm not really saying don't do it. Do that if you have to, if there is a good valid use case, but don't really do these things just for the sake of it, or just because you think that every month you need to do something, and you're not really clear about what. So basically only do these things when you have exact clarity on what needs to be done, who will be doing it, and maybe it is like in a way, as part of your process, maybe you want to remind yourself. And a very good example would be to, let us say you are keeping track of your employee contract date, right? Or maybe their, let us say, visa date or whatever. Now you may want to remind yourself before a specific date. Let us say their end date or whatever date is in November, and you want to do something 3 months before that. So this is a very nice, useful example of doing something in Jira automatically. It is in a way, you can say, a recurring task because you have to do it for sure and you want to assign it to someone, but it is still very specific, like that we need to do something for this user by this date. And the same thing can be applicable for let us say you are in your process, you are doing something, let us say in the workflow, and that thing that you want to do is maybe based on a date again, and you want to make sure that whenever you're creating a task automatically, you want to do it maybe 3 months or 2 weeks before that date. So there are, like, maybe you want to do some review, or maybe you want to make sure that by this date, before your actual due date or end date, you have to do this. It's like a hard stop for you to deliver that particular task, or basically do a check mark. But don't really just create a task because you think that in the month of September we want to work on an epic, and then when the right time comes, we'll create the epic, or we'll modify the epic with the actual description. So don't do it without any clear deliverables. Don't really do it just for the sake of it. And I'm saying this because what I have seen happens a lot. People have these automations in Jira, and then they don't really take care of it. Basically, there is no ownership, and ownership, having a very clear ownership of number one, issues, and number two, who will do what at what stage. For example, if you're creating a new epic or a story or a feature or maybe something, right, or a bug. Now the person who's creating an epic, if the status is draft, it means the person will do some modification. But if the status is maybe in review, or if you want to assign it to someone, basically based on maybe the assigning field, based on the status, based on the any field in your Jira, you should define this in your Jira way of working, that who will take the ownership, who will basically make sure that this particular issue will have some closure, or basically move it away from your backlog, or maybe your if something is waiting for you to update, then update it, but at the same time define it somewhere that if the bug status is critical, then someone from this team should take an action on it, and create separate dashboards for them. But if you create these items automatically without any clear ownership, then after a couple of years your Jira will be messed up. And messing up Jira is one thing, but doing a cleanup, I mean, once you acknowledge that yes, there is a problem, and it happens with me almost every day. Once I know that there is a problem, fixing things is never really easy, because Jira is a tool that people use to do their work, and they keep track of things in Jira. You have, of course, full traceability, and you can't really just close things. You can't really just delete things. You can't really just update something. I mean, Jira admins should not be doing the updates on behalf of other users. They can, of course, remind someone else, or maybe they can design this process like Jira health check, whatever. But they can't really, because they're not really always, I mean, in most cases, they are not really close to the delivery. They don't actually know what is happening in this story. And if you create this task automatically, then you're actually making your Jira admin's job difficult. And yeah, that is it. That is all I wanted to talk about. And of course, just like any other automation, always think about why you're doing this automation. I mean, automation, as the name suggests, is only for those cases where you want to save time. Where you want to save time. At the same time, you want to do, or basically you want to avoid manual work, because you are doing it every day or every time, maybe as part of your process. For example, when you're doing onboarding, you may want to create some activities for other teams, and you know that you have to do it all the time. Every time you have to do these things for sure. So of course, automate it. It makes sense to automate it. But if you're doing automation just to maybe justify the laziness of your managers, then of course it is not really a valid use case. I mean, you can automate, but you shouldn't really automate or try to replace actual people's job, or make them even more lazier. Is that a word? Anyways, all right. That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new today. Thank you very much.